welcome to this short video on how to order power from UK Games Expo. As you can see on screen here, I'm starting in the Exhibitor portal where you will have logged in, and this is your central place for all things Expo as an exhibitor. To order power, this is done via the Stands tab or menu option. So if you click on the Stands tab on the left here, that will bring up the list of stands that you have at the Expo, and power is done on a per stand basis. So you order it for each stand. Most of you will only have one stand, so you just click on the selected stand here, and this will bring up the options for that stand. You can see on your stand listing here that it shows you the breadth and depth of your stand. This example is 4 meters by 5 meters, and the configuration, it's in a row configuration. That means that it'll have a stand to its left and right and to the rear of it. And you can see here in the middle there's an option for clicking for power. So if you click on that option, this brings you through to the power ordering screen. And so power at UK Games Expo and the NEC is ordered in two parts. So the first part is you order a mains install, that is the level of power you want. And the second part is to attach then sockets onto that mains so that you can use the power via your standard 3-pin socket plugs. So the first thing you're going to have to do is work out how much power you need. And this really goes back to your O-level physics course, because the mains are supplied in amps, but we measure everything in watts. So in order to get how much power do you need, you multiply your amps by 240, and that gives you the amount of watts that you can draw. So on the back of every device that you wish to plug in will be a power draw in watts. So on my desk here I've got an air pump for an airbed, don't ask me why, but on the back of that it says it's 140 watts. So if I plug that in, that's what it's going to draw. So you need to think about what it is you want to put on your stand, how many watts they draw if all switched on together, and that will give you a good estimate of what size mains you want. And as you can see, a 6 amp mains will give you 1,500 watts. TVs and screens traditionally draw a lot less power than you think they do, so they're often only 100, 200 watts. Charging points for phones and PDQs, etc., draw very low amount of watts. However, a kettle, for instance, will draw 3,000 watts standard. So if you plug a kettle in, you'll blow your fuse very quickly. So once you've decided both how many mains points you want, usually one is sufficient and is the most economical way of doing it, and how many watts that's going to do, you just click on the buttons and you'll see that allows you to select a number of mains. After you have selected your mains, you're going to need to add some sockets. You need at least one socket. However, do remember that having had a socket installed by the contractors, you are perfectly entitled to add a 4-way or 6-way extension onto that socket to give you more sockets to plug into, and as long as that doesn't draw over the maximum amount of mains you put in, that will work perfectly well. So in terms of being economic, do think about where you really need a socket and where you can run an extension off an existing install. For this example, I'm going to put 2 sockets in, and then I'm going to choose their placement on the grid below. So having picked 2 sockets, it now allows me to place 2 squares on this representation of your stand. If you have a look, you can see that we had a 4 by 5 meter stand, and this is shown by this square grid, also showing you what sides exhibitors are on, or if there's a wall. This diagram will generate the appropriate layout of your stand. So as you can see, the aisle is to the right, the front entrance of the hall is somewhere to the south. So I'm going to select my socket locations, and having selected them, if I'm happy with that, I can click Save Changes. When I click Save Changes, this informs our administrator that a power order has been requested, and in the fullness of time, usually a couple of days, they will process that order, and when they do, they will lock the changes out into this power. So if you come back and you find that this screen is locked and won't allow you to change anything, that's because we've generated the invoice and the order, and therefore we need you to tell us if there's a change to be made. So if this screen is locked, you will need to email admin at ukgamesexpo.co.uk, and they will make a change for you, or they will unlock it so that you can make the changes. This is to ensure that we don't have a situation where you place an order, then change your mind for whatever reasons, and we don't notice you've changed the power order. So this ensures that on the day you arrive at the show, you have the power that you've ordered in the locations you want. If you want to change the socket locations, you simply remove the socket that you don't want and then add it back in a new location, and then remember to save the changes.